listening to Bipolar Nation Radio with Susan Schofield, right here on LA Talk Radio.
Welcome to Bipolar Nation Radio. I'm Susan Schofield, and the number to get in on our program is 1-323-203-0815. We have a very special program today, part 3 in our special series, Life and Death at Diamond Ranch Academy. That's a behavioral residential facility in Utah that comes highly recommended by Dr. Drew Pinsky and his television show, Life Changers. On today's show, Dinesha, a mother who was, in my opinion, being coerced into sending her son Alante to this residential, is here along with our youth advocate reporter, Ricky Linder. Dinesha and Ricky, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ricky.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dinesha. And we are first, before we get to Dinesha's story and Dr. Drew, we want to touch on a couple of politically insane news stories that are out right now. According to the journal news LowHUD.com, 16-year-old Corey Foster died last Wednesday night after witnesses say Foster was angry for being pushed off the court inside the gym of his residential treatment center. Police are reviewing the video from Biondi Education Center inside Leakin Watts Yonkers' office, questioning witnesses while awaiting autopsy reports to determine whether there was criminal wrongdoing in this case. Now, one witness, 18-year-old William Green, says he remembers Foster pleading that he couldn't breathe as 8 staff members piled on top of him. One staff member replying that if he couldn't breathe, then he couldn't talk. Then proceeded to punch Foster in the head until foam was spilling out of his mouth. This account mirrors statements from 2 other witnesses who claim several boys were shooting hoops when the staff ordered them to clear the court so they could play. And, of course, one witness also reports 17-year-old Antonio Reeder, that when the staff finally got him off the ground, he was unresponsive. Now, New York Yonkers detective Lieutenant Patrick McCormick says police are aware that the witnesses' accounts, and although there are no indications of any criminality, however, they also know that when they got a hold of Foster, he was already dead. So, Ricky, what do you think about this? I know you have more information.
Well, this harkens back, for me, this makes me think of the story of Kevin Bacon, or Aaron Bacon, excuse me. I keep doing that. The child that died and is detailed in Mia Salovitz's book, Help at Any Cost. And, it happens a lot in wilderness programs that children, are told that they're lying when they talk about their physical ailments, and then they're accused of being manipulative. And, once the child has been marginalized and given the label troubled teen, this sort of thing just happens. It happens a lot. And I really encourage people to read about this story. And if you have time, also Google the story of Aaron Bacon and how he died. He actually journaled all the way up till his death.
Wow.
And so Mia Salovitz was actually able to put together a really, a really amazing story and timeline of how he died and how his symptoms progressed and how staff responded to his complaints. So this is not isolated. This is pretty typical. Although this was a residential treatment center, this primarily happens in wilderness camps and boot camps, although it happens in residential treatment centers also.
Mm-hmm. And it looks like right now the police are trying to say, look, it wasn't us who killed him, he was already dead. So it's like they're trying to protect the facility, but at the same time they're trying to protect themselves. And you know what? The 8 witnesses that were there are saying, look, he was stomped on by all these staff members. 8.
Well, I think it sounds like he died of compression suffocation is what I have to guess. An article that came out on April 20th says that they're expecting autopsy results to return, quote, today in the context of April 20th. I'm going to try, observing that. I wonder if it's public or not yet.
I don't know. I haven't seen it yet, but once it is, we will definitely be posting that. And also, I want to get to an update really quick on the Rotenberg Center and what is going on with that, and then St. John's, because we have to do that, and then we're going to get to Dinesha's story. So what's going on with Judge Rotenberg? What's the latest on that?
Well, what's interesting is that a former staff member who's interviewed for ABC, Nightline, the Boston Globe, and Mother Jones, his name is George Miller, is a former staffer at the Judge Rotenberg Center, and he's spoken out before, but it was years ago where he got the most publicity. But he's speaking again recently, and he wants to add some context to the story, which is expected to go to jury here on Monday. So the Judge Rotenberg Center is on trial, and it's a pretty simple case. I expect it to go badly for Rotenberg, and it is going to the jury on Monday supposedly. So that's I await with bated breath that one. But this staffer said that, what we saw there wasn't even the worst of what can happen. He says that in many cases, when a child was strapped to the 4-point restraint board and shocked, that the staffer would be outside the door so that the student could not perceive when a shock was coming, or alternatively, shocks would be run by a timer sent to different time intervals, like a 5-minute interview followed by a 10-minute interval, for example. And this is according to a Canton newspaper. So it's a local paper in New York. I'll get the source in a second. And the staff member, he says that students would go crazy, screaming and struggling in anticipation until their muscles would get so tired they could no longer tense up. And then this next part is verbatim. This added element of varying the minutes between the electric shocks, in my opinion, was much worse than the horrific shocks themselves. It added a whole other dimension of helplessness and hopelessness to a student who is already tied up to the board and getting shocked. And I just want to get that source really quick. It's called the Canton Patch. And the article is called "Letter to the Editor, Former Teacher's Aide at Judge Rotenberg Center Comments on Fox TV Video of JRC Shock Treatments."
And you know what? Thank you to Fox TV, the undercover portion that actually did this video, because without that video, it would just be the same as all the other residential facilities where they're talking about it, but, there's no criminality. We don't know about it yet. We're not sure. Even NAMI says that kind of stuff. It's like, we're not sure. Even with the video, they said with Kelly Thomas, the schizophrenic homeless man in Fullerton being beaten to death in broad daylight, everybody was saying, you know what, they're killing him out there. NAMI actually says, we're not sure. We're just going to take our money and run, thank you. Oh, well, that's NAMI for you. Anyway, let's go to real quick an update from last weekend's show with St. John's Academy, where they brand kids there. What's going on with that one?
Well, I've got a little bit more information. Last time we spoke, you asked me a question, and I completely whiffed the question, so I actually wanted to follow up on that. You're asking me what kind of licensed staff did they actually have, and if they're on site or not.
Right.
And so I went back, and and they're, I normally don't cite strictly advocacy sites, but they cite their sources really well. In this case, it is heal-online.org/stjohn.html, or just HTML, excuse me. So www.heal-online.org/stjohn.htm. That's just HTML. And they have 4-person delineated on staff as nurse or nurse's assistant. That is Terry Goodson, Cindy Powell, Leslie Stahl, and Jennifer Weinbrenner, I believe. And they used the Kansas State Board of Nursing license verification tool to actually try and figure out if these people were actually nurses or not. Terry Goodson is a licensed practical nurse and has been since 2006 in Kansas. Cindy Powell is apparently not a licensed nurse in Kansas. Leslie Stahl, the nurse's assistant, is apparently not a licensed nurse in Kansas, and Jennifer Weinbrenner is a registered nurse in Kansas and has been since June 2011. And again, that's all according to the Kansas State Board of Nursing License Verification Tool, available at kansas.gov/KSBN-verifications. What's interesting about this is that I couldn't find, and Heal couldn't find, and nobody else I had helping me try and dig stuff up could find any mention of an on-staff mental health professional. So you've got 2 nurses, only one of them's an RN, and then you've got apparently no mental health professionals for a place that claims to modify behavior. So that
and
to me is
how much
is a huge
to get
red
in
flag.
there? How much does it cost to get in there again that these silly parents are paying?
Oh, I believe that St. John's is a little over $3,000 a month.
Okay, well, you got the name. You get to say my kid went to St. John's Academy, got branded, got beaten, nearly killed, and, hey, isn't that great? Now he's going to go to Harvard after. Oh, I'm sorry. It's sad. Okay, anyway, now we're going to get to Dinesha's story with Diamond Ranch Facility. And Dinesha, I'm going to play the clip that you did with your son Alante and Dr. Drew. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay, here it is.
Is there something you want to tell these folks?
Well, there's no question Alante's involved in some behaviors that are scary. And I don't think that he wants to go down the path where that's going to lead. At Diamond Ranch Academy, we specialize in helping teenagers and their families, teenagers struggling with some of the same issues that we've been talking about here. And I really see a lot of hope. I see a young man who's already getting good grades, wants to achieve, he has goals for his life, wants to be an engineer. And I see a mom who's so committed to this young man, she's willing to do almost anything to save him. I think we can help. So we are prepared today to offer you a life-changing opportunity. We would like to give you free tuition to our academy.
Or a year?
For a year.
This is a therapeutic environment with comprehensive social, psychiatric, psychological, and educational services.
No, it isn't.
I'm willing to do it if y'all give me a chance. This is all new to us.
Right.
What's happened today has all been new to us. Me publicizing him like that has all been new. I'm willing to do it if I don't see a change in the next couple months. Right. All I'm asking for is just like y'all saying, it takes time. This is new to him, and it takes time.
But let me just say, Mom, to me, and to I'm sure people watching at home, this is shocking.
Yes, it is.
It is shocking that you won't do this. I mean, it's a doctor recommending it. It's a free service. It's specifically what kids like him need. You have professionals that deal specifically with kids like this. I understand it's hard, but I deal with this all the time where people come to me and go, I'm willing to do anything. I'm willing to do anything. I go, here is exactly what you need to do. And they go, okay, anything but that. Anything but that. So, I'm not making this recommendation casually. This is years of experience of dealing with people with behavioral problems. I see it all the time. And, it's your call. You're the mom. But it kind of breaks my heart.
Well,
really.
We want you to make a decision you feel comfortable with, because what we know is that if you're not engaged in the process, it's not going to work.
Exactly.
We need your support to make this work. But I can also tell you that the thousands of parents we've talked to, we've been in business for over 12 years, and the thousands of parents we talk to, this story is what we hear. He fits the exact criteria for the type of student we work with. And parents all the time will make excuses. They put it off. I have parents that will call me and then say, okay, we're not quite ready. They call back 6 months later, okay, we're not quite ready. All the while it's sliding downward. So I would say to you, if things were getting better, and if you were coming on the show saying we tried this intervention and it's really working and we're making progress, I would say we look at that. But what I'm hearing is that things are continuing to slide down, and I think early intervention is the key. If you call us 6 months from now and he's done 6 more things, it's going to be that much harder for us to get the change.
We're not allowing 6 more things. That's what, I mean, if I let you go, do you feel like I'm walking away from you? Okay, then. That's it right there. It's nothing to talk about. I'm typing up a contract now to have Alante sign saying that he has 6 months from today, if there's any problems, that he'll agree to go to Diamond Ranch. So it's not about me showing that I care. It's about me showing that I mean business. I'm not going to give up the streets. It's not going to have you. And that's what it's more about. It's not about me proving I care, because he knows I love him.
So, Dinesha, After hearing this, what is your first reaction?
My first reaction was, you know what, I wasn't thinking when I did that show.
Well, yeah.
And, I mean, my first reaction is, I'm just glad I followed my mother's intuition. Alante, Dr. Drew and his staff were well aware of Alante, and I educated them very well on Alante before we ever did the show. And I'm just glad I followed my heart. My heart said don't do it, and my mother intuition said no. More sick stuff happen in places like that than what it do out on the street.
Exactly.
So,
I know. And the thing is, it's more of like a Lord of the Flies environment that you can't get out of. There's no escape.
Right.
And what did you share with Dr. Drew before the show regarding his diagnosis?
And that's what's crazy, because they said, I gave Dr. Drew so much information. I gave him Alante's psychological evaluations. I gave him a list of all of Alante's testing, his scoring. I gave him notarized letters from the police department showing, all the little petty crimes that Alante keep getting involved in, lists of meds, all of his letters from his therapies, his IEP. I gave them everything possible to educate them on Alante and his situation before the show.
Do you think Dr. Drew took you seriously?
I think Dr. Drew really didn't take me serious at all. It was so much publicity behind what I had done. They just needed, they called it an exclusive. It was all about getting the interview that no one else could do, because 32 shows had offered me a show, and I refused. And Dr. Drew, at first he had one producer call me, and I refused her. So he turned back, and he had a lady named Fernita call me, which was, she was supposed to be the sister, and she was supposed to be more understanding, and, this, that, and the other. Well, we're going to do an intervention. We're going to, show him a steer straight tactic. And we get there, and it was something completely different.
How was it? What were they originally intending to do?
The original intention was supposed to be like an intervention. He was supposed to either go to like the jail or something to see what the inside of the jail was like, or something like what they did in South Central. It was supposed to be an intervention. It wasn't supposed to be a recommendation for placement. That wasn't what we went on the show for, because if they would have known, I'm totally against it from jump. So that's what we're trying to avoid. We're trying to avoid placement. We're trying to avoid him ending up in the system. That's why I was out there. That's why I did it.
Exactly. And Ricky, what do you have to say really quickly here,
Well, I just, what I was most shocked about was that Dr. Drew, at least on the clip that I saw, and, correct me if there's more going on behind the scenes, didn't give you any empirical data about the facility, about their methods, information about the staff, their qualifications, whether they were contracted out or on site. He didn't tell you that you wouldn't be able to see Alante potentially for months, and then only, once a month thereafter. Quite possibly. He didn't say any of that, and that is what my research leads me to believe is Diamond Ranch Academy, and that stuff is not ideal, and that they don't have empirical information, that you don't get to see your child hardly at all. And, I mean, did he tell you any of that ahead of time?
No, sir. Actually, they didn't even give me any input on Diamond Ranch Academy. I didn't get to see the clip that they added in the show after the show. I had never seen it. They had never educated me on Diamond Ranch Academy. The first I had heard were when the two guys stood up in the audience. It was all a surprise to me. I knew nothing about any of that. And they never,
so
I mean, I am a thorough mom. I was mad at them because they edited out what I said. I said, I don't know nothing about how he gonna eat, how he gonna live, how he gonna learn. I'm not just gonna give you my baby. I'm not gonna just give him to you.
Yes. Double
and they edited that part out of the show, and that was the reason I stood up and I walked off. And I explained to them, no, I don't know nothing about how he's gonna live. No.
Well, and that often becomes the problem.
They never offered for me to, you would have thought they'd have offered me to go there to check it out. They never did any of that until they offered me that before I did the contract thing with them. They threw that in there after. They took me behind stage. They had all these psychiatrists and stuff come out. Well, this is what we're suggesting. This is what we're suggesting. And I'm going to tell you exactly what I told them, and I'm sure they will be glad to say I told them, just because a doctor suggested does not mean it's right.
Yeah. And
I'm sorry. I just don't. Not everybody is right, first off, especially when it comes to kids. It's a touch and go basis. You don't know what's going to work for the next kid.
And
Each kid is different.
How long did Dr. Drew spend with Alante to recommend this?
The first time Dr. Drew had ever met Alante, he never did a consultation with Alante. He never sat down and, see where Alante's mental status was. That was the first time we ever seen Dr. Drew when we walked out on that stage. We were in California 3 days. He never once came to meet Alante. He never once did anything with Alante at all. No visit.
So this was a setup.
No, let me see. Huh?
It was a setup.
I mean,
like
this was a setup
yes,
then.
Sir.
This was designed
yes, sir,
with the end in mind, not with Alante in mind, clearly.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Exactly. Because he never did. I mean, any psychologist or whatever we've ever been to for Alante has talked to Alante without me to see where his mind was at, to see, if this is all apparent. Because some parents coerce kids. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If this is me or whatever, he never did anything with Alante ever. It was never about Alante. He never met with Alante at all.
Now, okay, go ahead, Ricky.
Oh no, it just blows my mind. If for some fun Dr. Drew trivia, you can look up the comments he made about. Oh no, now it's escaping me. Who's the celebrity girl that seems to always be getting herself in trouble?
Lindsay Lohan.
Yeah, he made some comments about Lohan, and people were commenting, man, you really should, meet someone before you make a diagnosis here. And I don't remember all the details. I just remember there was a controversy about that. Might be interesting research for some of our audience members. But I was also curious if what kind of difficulty you've had with people harassing you either on the show, both members of the show and audience members, and if anybody else has been giving you trouble for your decision.
You know what? Every sister show, my whole life has did a big turn. I'm now myself is even suffering from anxiety just from the stress and the publicity behind it. It's been a disaster since the show. I mean, but like I said, in life you will learn if that's one of the things you regret as a parent or you really learned a lesson from. It's just been...
You're saving other parents. You're saving other parents right now who don't have a clue. Just think of all those audience members that were clapping, cluelessly clapping. I mean,
Yeah.
That's what they did for Hitler too. I mean, people, not that he's Hitler, but I'm just saying that's what people that don't know are listening to this rhetoric, and they're just clapping.
Not to cut you off, Susan, one of Dr. Drew's people, I don't know if you guys keep up with like the postings from the show or whatever, I was on there and she sent me an email, well, your son has killer eyes. And I commented back to her and I said, well, what do killer eyes look like? Because I've seen video of Hitler, I've seen Charles Manson. What did their eyes look like? You know what I mean? Well, could you tell they were a killer?
Right.
And people just get on there, and one of them got on there and put on there, well, this mom's so busy eating burgers, she not focusing on her kids. I've been through heck.
I know. I got it too. I got a warrior mom out there that says I have Munchausen by proxy, and I am inviting her on the show on May 6th to come in, and she can accuse me of whatever she wants. We're going to go back and forth, have as much of a conversation as we possibly can. I'm going to answer all of her questions, but it's like, I know, I get it too. You get the positive side of helping other people, because that is, in effect, what you're doing. You're helping all these people who have not a clue what's going on, and they're having trouble with their kids. You're helping them to say no to people. Look at the people who've already lost their lives. Look at this guy Wednesday night, Corey Foster, who died. If he wasn't in that residential facility, he may still be alive. I mean, what about James Shurry, who died at Diamond Ranch, vomiting to death? I remember you told me you let your son hear that show of Alex Weiner.
Right.
And thankfully, Alex did come on the show. I mean, because he really made a difference in your life and in your son's life.
Yes, he did.
And he doesn't even know how much of a difference he made. But he made a huge difference because he told the story. He was there. He lived it.
Yeah.
And
since then, Alante has been a wonder. He's doing way much better. I mean, it's going day by day, but he's doing better. He's making better. He's trying to make better choices, and he's manning up for his choices. I was like, listen to this. I was like, this is what Dr. Drunum had in store for you. Regardless of whatever diagnosis they give Alante, he understands. and he's actually pretty smart.
Yeah, well, they all are. That's the thing. These kids are brilliant. And it's like, because I guess maybe they're too brilliant, so they don't fit into the school system that colors in the lines. You know, it's just that's part of the problem here. And I wanted to get on that too. Is your school district giving Alante the appropriate education under the federal law of IDEA, which is Individuals with Disabilities Education Act?
Well, you know, that's a touchy issue with me. Actually, how Alante ended up with the sign outside that day that made all of this blow up was because Fort Wayne Community Schools. Okay. Because Fort Wayne Community Schools they're not honoring the IEP as if they're supposed to.
Most are not.
And what we ended up with a problem was Alante had been canceling the special ed bus for 2 months, and they not once notified me. He had been calling, disguising his voice, and getting on regular transportation. And I just so happened to be getting dressed to go do my clinicals up at the hospital, and I realized that Alante wasn't here, and I know that the bus come every day at 6:50. So I start digging. I'm looking for him, and I called transportation. She said, "You've been canceling the bus every day off and on for 2 months." I said, "No, I haven't." So I'm arguing with her, and she said, "You know what? Now that I hear your voice, no, it's not you." She was like, "Well, we need to discuss it." I said, "You know what? I need to find my son." I was like, "I'll deal with you when I'm done." So I get to digging for Alante. I find him on a regular bus. He walked from our house to somewhere else and got on regular transportation. I get to the school, and I'm up at the school, and I'm rampant and raging, and I'm mad because the IEP stipulates if special ed transportation is canceled more than 2 days, you're supposed to have the parent in for a meeting to see if special ed transportation is still needed. Nobody ever once notified me or said anything. Not ever.
Right.
So that day, I'm like, okay, I'm really mad. So I get in touch with Alante PO. I talked to the school. The school did no consequences. They did nothing. Okay. The PO did nothing. She gave him 3 hours community service. So I'm like, okay. He looked at me and gave me a look like, you know? And I wasn't thinking. I was being completely impulsive, I guess, too. And I'm like, okay, you're going to stand out here with this sign. Well, guess who called CPS? Guess who called the news? Yep. It wasn't the school. It was Fort Wayne Community School Transportation. So I've been sitting back digging. Why would transportation do this? Why would transportation get on anything that's going on my property? We were not on the school property.
Right.
And I wasn't abusing him. You know what I mean? So I'm like, why would he get – well, he was covering his tracks. How did you sit here and allow this 14-year-old boy to call and disguise his voice as if he was a woman every day and cancel special ed bus and stuff without notifying the parent? They never once told us anything. And that's what started the whole thing.
Right. Because,
and the thing
go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead.
The thing with Alante's IEP is, the thing of it is, when they see me off the gate at the school, when they see me, everybody get their defense guard up because I pay attention to everything.
You're a red flag parent. That's what they call us, red flag parents, just so you know.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, when they see me coming to the office, off the gate, everybody's on defensive. Well, we did this with Alante. We done that with Alante. Because I make them have IEP modification meetings. Every time something don't go my way, okay, I had them pull in transportation, the head of school board, the principals. I made them pull in at least 20-some people to that meeting after I came back from doing Dr. Drew's show. They were so mad. And like I said, this IEP is for the safety of my son. Mm-hmm. It's a contract between me and the school to assure his education and his safety. And if y'all not doing y'all end of the deal, then y'all void the contract.
Exactly.
And that's just sums it up there.
Right.
And so I constantly go to war with them about this IEP. So now they making sure they do everything accordingly because they don't want to deal with me or the publicity that come behind me.
That is correct. Ricky, you have anything?
Well, before the show, you were saying that they edited out, like, the audience actually booing you. It wasn't just them clapping for Dr. Drew. They actually booed you when you responded?
Oh, yes. They booed me. The people were like, boo. And I was like, evidently, y'all don't know I don't care, because if I cared how y'all felt, you wouldn't have been standing out there with the sign in the first place. It's not about none of them. It was about fixing my son. If that was the right choice or not, that's my call, you know. And they were boo, and they edited out all of that. They edited out Dr. Drew saying, well, before he even made that one clip where it says, I'm a doctor and I'm suggesting, he had went into a whole thing, I'm a psychiatrist and this, that, and other. And I even told him then, you're a psychiatrist who have never met with Alante.
Exactly.
You've never sat down with Alante. you never even called. I called Alante psychiatrists and stuff to see, because I signed authorizations for them to get releases and talk to the people to see if Dr. Drew even consulted with Alante psychiatrist, and he never even called them.
That's
I don't think Dr. Drew is. I don't think Dr. Drew is a shrink. I'm not 100% sure on that. I knew he was a medical doctor, but I don't
know what he is, but he needs to find him another profession.
That's true.
I mean, what you want to be called a doctor? Be called a doctor of love or something.
He's
fix
a doctor on TV.
Stop trying to fix these kids because you're not coming up with the right method for the kids.
He plays one on TV, but that doesn't mean he's really.
I really feel as if the Diamond Ranch Academy was a last minute thing with the show, that it was all about publicity and advertisement. And as I started researching Diamond Ranch Academy and looked into it, Dr. Drew Pinsky picture popped up on the website. All I'm saying is, if you needed publicity, you could have got it some other way to try to use my son as an example.
Do you think
because
I really
feel like they, I really feel like they targeted us and used us. I mean, I feel like they knew we didn't have no other options. So I'm going to throw out, okay, you can't get the legal system to work for you. You can't get, the supposedly the mental health field to work for you. So I'm going to throw out this advertisement in this place and, use this as something that might work for you. I didn't have no other options. I still, to this day, don't have a backup plan on what if he does break the law again. Only thing I can say is I'm going to move this day by day.
Well, yeah, and that's why they're doing this, though. This is why these residential facilities are there, because they're profiting off of the school districts not meeting IDEA, Individuals with Disabilities Education Act. And that's what you've got in New Jersey. There is a case I want to bring up really quick. I don't know, Ricky, if you had time to see this, about where New Jersey schools, some schools in New Jersey are calling CPS because they don't want to, it's too expensive to give services to the kids, so they'd rather just call CPS and get the parents in trouble so the parents will back off. That's what's going on. And if people don't know about this, I will post this on Bipolar Nation Radio. Did you see it, Ricky, at all?
I did, and what was interesting is that the agency acknowledged that it's aware that sometimes this does happen, but it has to take all reports seriously and inspect them thoroughly, regardless of if they're suspicious that it's kind of a erroneous report with a bad intention behind it. They still have to investigate it. So, there's not really, I'm not saying that shouldn't be the case, but there is no fail safe. So it's a really fascinating story. I can't, one of the things I'm going to read as soon as we get off is more about this. This is incredible.
I know it is. And this is it's all part of the same thing. It's like there's no money in the school district, and instead you've got, well, here's what I know. You've got the child and family centers taking money from the federal government, same with the regional center, and really they're fraudulent agencies that don't provide services. Yes, I'm sure they provide golf games to the people that are politically involved and connected. I'm sure they provide lunch parties, and I know they did a lot of retreats, training retreats for nothing, because they don't know anything. But they are basically fraudulent. They're taking money away from the school districts that should be getting the money. And it's just becoming a big mess. But that said, they can come on the show anytime they want. But they're fraudulent as far as I'm concerned. Now I wanted to ask you also, Dinesha, what about Dr. Drew, and what do you think that Diamond Ranch Academy chose you specifically and Alante to give him the free year? Do you think there
really being honest? I think they chose him because of the publicity that was behind us. I mean, that story with Alante standing out with the sign aired in 74 different cities. It was front page even in London, England. And I really feel as if it was all a publicity thing for advertisement for Diamond Ranch Academy. These guys are still calling me, even after they realize that I'm not going to just at first, I'm not going to lie. When we first got home after the show, things were rough.
Right.
Things were rough. Alante had been all across TV, so his head was big,
Right.
And I had actually thought about Diamond Ranch Academy, and I had went. And I swear, Susan, I had filled out the paperwork. I was going to let him go. And you guys, you know what? I got a copy of their contract if you guys want to see what it looked like, too.
Yes.
Anyways, cut a long story short, I had went and I had filled out the paperwork, and I said, God, please just send me some type of sign. And that's when I get the link from the guy
Tony.
that introduced me to you.
Tony Connolly.
And
yes.
I said, let me open this link. So I finally opened the link, and I started hearing all the different stories from Diamond Ranch students and this, that, and the other. And I'm like, oh, my God, do they not know what they was going to get themselves into? Because I'm not going to lie, they would have thought they was at war with the whole army because I was coming for them.
Good.
I was literally going to come for them. Even if Alante would have went to Diamond Ranch Academy, my attorneys and stuff said Alante probably would have been treated as if, better because of
yes.
the publicity behind him.
Yes.
But do you not think about the other 100 kids that are in there that are getting treated bad? How were they going to treat him?
And
he was going to be stereotyped and outcast. Mm-hmm. Which would have made more abuse, would have messed him up more emotionally.
Yeah, it wouldn't have been the staff.
It wasn't a win situation for us.
Right. It wouldn't have been the staff. They would have probably treated him like gold, but the other kids would have been able to get around that, and then he could have had who knows what could have happened.
Yeah. Exactly. And not only that, I have a huge separation problem. I wouldn't have been able to they never once told me I wasn't going to talk to my son.
Yeah, and
they never once said I was. I have to talk to him. I would have went nuts. It would have hurt me too.
Did they?
And I don't think a lot of parents realize that he's different. And it took a long time for me to accept that. He's different.
Really quick, I want to ask you.
Go ahead, Rachel. Sorry.
About the contract, real quick, I just before I forget, I've heard, I have not verified that they actually have you sign away 51% of your of your parental.
I did do some. Yeah, I seen one of the little boy complaints where he was saying that his parents had did it. So I went back in the contract, and it is a part that says that your parent pretty much, they got more parental control than the parent actually has once you sign them in.
Wow.
You know what? I'll be glad. I kept it in my files. You guys are more than welcome to have it and look at it.
Send it to Ricky.
And see all the BS they putting out there.
Send it to me too, but definitely both of us. We both need copies of this. This is good.
Yeah, I got the whole thing in there. The whole admission packet is inside one of my files.
Oh, fantastic. That's
cool.
Oh, go ahead.
And he will dissect these contracts. They might have already done it. If they haven't, somebody should probably get it to them.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah. I wonder, do you think Dr. Drew knew what he? I'm wondering, did he know what he was putting us into?
I don't know.
Or what?
I mean, what do you think, Ricky? I don't know if he didn't know and he just got this call from Diamond Ranch and thought, hey, this is a great idea, or if he did know and maybe he just didn't know the details. I don't know. It's hard to say. But I do.
It would be my guess. If I had to speculate, and it's just speculation, a lot of. I don't think he would have done it if he'd have known how much controversy that it would stir up, which means he probably didn't know that this was
getting kicked
the case. He was probably, I think it was just profiteering. He just was like, oh, here's an opportunity for me to make some money.
That's what I think.
And here's this kid, and the kid is a secondary object to, like, hey, publicity. That's my speculation.
I agree.
What's crazy is he's a secondary object to him, but he's the first object to me. That's right. My first priority.
Of course.
And I really feel as if like Dr. Drew's Life Changers is known for big finales. I feel like with Alante case, they did the intervention with the couple guys, but it wasn't a finale enough. And then when they threw in, okay, well, we'll pay you for this advertisement, we'll do this, that, and other. Oh, bam, I'm just going to take it and add it on there, and that's going to make Life Changers look so much better. We offered him a $69,000 scholarship. Well, he failed to realize Alante mom is not stupid. Everything that's free is not really free. Yeah. It's something behind everything free. Whether you get in a 2-year contract or you get in a life contract, you get something is going back for something that's free. So I don't know. I just hope Dr. Drew them listening and don't offer that place to no one else, Well,
what was the latest? When I called you last, he was talking about another show, or not another show, but another residential that was doing terrible things.
Actually, I think it might be one of the stories that you. It might be one of the stories that you guys were covering where the young boy was tased and tied down and tased. Dr. Drew had that as the topic of his show the other day. And he was talking about the show that he has that come on late night on HLN. And he was talking about how, you know, places like that is beneficial for some children and then some is not. And he was talking about how they use therapeutic measures. Well, how is shocking a kid therapeutic?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You don't know what type of diagnosis kids have low runs in life. With a kid, you don't know if they heart really bad because doctors and stuff are not looking for a bad heart in a kid.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Things like that are undetected in kids. You just assume automatically, I'm doing a well-child checkup. They don't check heart rates or nothing. What if you shock one of these kids and their heart stops?
That's right. And that happens.
And that's what is happening.
I know.
mean, they're not looking into these kids' history.
I know.
What'd you say, Ricky?
Yeah, go, Ricky.
I was just freaking out a second. Are you saying, Susan, were you saying someone died from the shocks at the Judge Rotenberg Center?
I don't know, but
I don't know what center it was. It was on HLN a few nights ago.
Yeah. Okay.
I called Susan right afterwards. We talked about it. I don't remember. I didn't write down any information from the show. Me and my husband had just been watching it.
Oh.
And I didn't
I'm looking at Dr. Drew's website, and the headline is Treatment or Torture, Teen Allegedly Shocked 31 Times at School. Disabled teen receives electric shocks for 7 hours at Judge Rotenberg Center. The thing that's fascinating is I don't know why they're saying allegedly. We have a rather lengthy video, showing it happening.
But that's what Nanny does too. That they all do that. They'll see the video, but they don't, because they're taking money from UHS, from Value Options, from all these companies or whatever. They will say, we don't really know what happened, so give us money as we walk in circles and have our socialites represent us, because they don't know what's going on because they have nannies that take care of their kids. So it's like,
right?
Yeah. This is these are the people running things. You've got socialites who have no clue because they've got nannies that are dealing with the kids, or the kids are sent away to the so-called good ones. And, of course, the so-called good ones aren't good either. I mean, Diamond Ranch is a so-called good one as far as, it costs money. People pay for their kids to be tortured there is what it amounts to. I mean, I
just really feel like people don't do enough research on places like that. I really feel like that if a child has so many diagnoses like that, why would you send them away? They already got so many emotional issues.
Exactly.
And then you send them somewhere else for somebody else to raise them.
Now
you're giving them a whole nother signal.
Right.
I mean, what, you give up?
Right.
Because that was my main thing. Do you feel like I'm going to give up on you? Because I'm not giving up.
Right.
This is a battle I'm in for life. When I had you, that was our battle. We're in this together.
Exactly. That's how I feel. I know.
You shouldn't get an easy way out because your child is different.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And that's what I'm realizing. It shouldn't be any different because they're different. My object as a parent is, regardless, whatever diagnosis they throw at Alante, he will get as close as he can to live a normal life, to have a normal family, have a normal career. And if I got to die trying to do that, that's what I'm going to do.
And you have an older son, too. Can you tell us how he's
Yes,
doing?
I do.
How is he?
Alan's 17, and actually Alan and Alante are pretty bright. Alante got like a 3.7 GPA. Alan is a minority scholar. He's going to school to be a doctor.
Wonderful.
He's a junior with already 16 college credits. He goes to school a half a day. He's remarkable.
Of course.
And I think that's a part of one of Alante's problems. Those are hard shoes to fill.
Mm.
And it took a while for me to figure that out too. As parents, you go day by day figuring out new things. Everything's different. And I think it's hard to follow behind Alan. Alan has always been exceptional, and those are hard shoes to fill.
But you know what? Life turns out differently for everybody. It depends. You have to get, like, Alante wants to be an engineer. He obviously is smart enough to become an engineer. It's just a matter of tailoring
he
education.
He jumped 5 reading levels in 2 years.
Of course.
His IQ and he has tripled in the last year and a half. Actually, Alante is very smart.
I know.
I think, it took medicine and stuff for him to calm down enough in order to figure out how smart he really is.
Exactly.
Because he was into so much stuff, he wasn't learning.
Well,
I had to say, okay, it's time to figure something out.
Now, first of all, before I get to what medicine, what diagnosis does he have? at this
Wow, Alante has a bunch of diagnoses. He's diagnosed ADHD, impulse control, anxiety, depression, below-level intellectual functioning. I guess they say, what is it?
Obsessive-compulsive disorder?
Affections defiance disorder.
Oh, oppositional defiant disorder, yes.
Possibility of bipolar, ED, LD. Alante has a lot of diagnoses. And actually, we're going through the process of him being re-diagnosed as puberty because he's matured a lot, and some of the things that they threw out when he was 7 and 8 years old, I don't think are all right.
Good. Because I'm still yet to go through puberty with mine, so we're hoping that it'll get better through puberty.
Yes, it has gotten better for us. When we first started dealing with the fact, because the school and stuff was blind, I set up testing myself for Alante. I first started noticing Alante was different when he was 4.
Right.
It wasn't developmentally because he was walking. Everything was on point, but he had issues. He was constantly fighting. He was biting the skin off himself. He was a daredevil. He would hurt himself constantly.
Yep.
And then I realized that when we got to kindergarten, okay, he can't sit still. He won't stop. And we started with the battle there, and the school was saying, no, he's just bad and this, that, other. And I'm like, no, it's more there. I've dealt with my other son, which was completely different. I've seen that he was completely different. So I went behind the school back, and I had psychological testing done. I had the Wessler done. I had all types of stuff. It came to about $16,000 on the testing they had to do. And I had that done outside of the school, and I went back to the school with this pack of paper. I'm like, look, I told you he's different. And I've been dealing with it since then. That's what helped me go through all of this. I just started educating myself on more and more stuff.
That's what it is. Ricky, anything that you got to say here? Because we're almost out of time. So anything, Ricky?
Just always proud of anyone who keeps in mind that there's no one-size-fits-all solution. There are no silver bullets. And that's what people like Dr. Drew, apparently, from what I've seen, are seeming to forget. So thank you for speaking out on that.
Yes, thank you so much. This is incredible, and, this will be archived, so you can take it anywhere. We will put it up on Dr. Drew's website so he can hear it. He is welcome to come on our show and talk about, whether he did know that Diamond Ranch practiced these facilities, whether he knew that a child had died there. There's no medical, they're not on site 24/7.
Well, I feel as if Dr. Drew did get to hear this, that I feel like I deserve that.
Yes.
Because I trusted Dr. Drew. I didn't publicize my story to no one else besides Dr. Drew and you, and I had millions of offers.
I know.
You know what I mean? And I feel like if he's listening, if he is listening, I deserve to know why you chose my son and why Diamond Ranch Academy, if you knew this is what was happening there. I deserve to know that.
I agree.
And if it wasn't, if it wasn't, he should come on and say, I didn't know that. I no longer support them, and I believe that there are problems. And and if he's feeling particularly ambitious, maybe he can make a statement on the whole industry with the Government Accountability Office documents and stuff like that.
Wouldn't that be wonderful if he actually turned it around and you know what, maybe ran as the vice president with Mitt Romney or something and turned the whole thing around?
You a mess.
Which okay, that's a joke. But you know what? Seriously, because they're both in making money off of this business, and it's it's incredible. But that's at least why.
I don't think when they thinking about money, I don't think they thinking about how they damaging these kids.
I don't either.
I think Dr. Drew need to sit down and listen to the stories and read the stories and stuff that I read from these kids from Diamond Ranch Academy. And he should have did that before he, supported Diamond Ranch Academy in that offer. It should have been more research done.
I agree.
Because Alante life might not be precious to him, but it is to me.
Absolutely.
That's my son.
That's right. Well, this is the same with my daughter. No one cares as much about your child, but you're the mother, you're the parent.
Right.
I know. I get you. So we are out of time this hour. Thank you so much, Danisha, for being on with us. This was wonderful to have you. We will keep updating anytime you want to be on. Just let me know. New developments. Okay. And Ricky, as always, thank you for being on. Any last words you want to say of where we can find out more information about anything?
Just look up the stories about St. John's Military Academy, Family First Growth Center in Pasadena. Look up the subreddit Troubled Teens. Get on the Facebook group Stop Lost Troubled Teens Supergroup. And contact me on Facebook. I'm Ricky Linder on Facebook. I'm friends with Susan, and it was an honor, an absolute honor to speak to you, Denisha. I appreciate it.
And we're all friends with Dinesha, too, so if you have any questions, you can ask all of us. We are out of time for this hour, and if you want to learn more about what we do, just go to Bipolar Nation Radio fan page or the Janney Foundation page, a health group for families coping with mental illness, found on Facebook. This is Susan Schofield's Bipolar Nation Radio on latalkradio.com. We're still among the few, the proud, the uncensored by the FCC. Thanks for joining us, everyone.
You're listening to Bipolar Nation Radio with Susan Schofield, right here on LA Talk Radio.